Doesn't seem like it was that long ago when Chandler, Arizona was labeled as the golden child suburb of Phoenix Metro. Chandler was idolized as this perfect family suburb. It feels like these neighboring suburbs, Queen Creek, Gilbert, even Santan, have replaced Chandler in the limelight. So did something happen to Chandler? Is it still a good place to live? I'm Courtney, your local Phoenix realtor, and today we're jumping in looking at Chandler to see if it's the right place for you. We're gonna take a look at schools, crime, things to do, and of course my favorite thing, real estate. Then ultimately answer why Chandler isn't growing at the velocity of which these other suburban areas are. So let's talk about schools. If you talk to anyone in the Phoenix metro area, you'll find that Chandler has a pretty strong reputation for their schools. So if we look at the ratings from greatschools.org, we can see that a lot of the schools are starting in that 6-7 range, and we have a handful that have even come up to that 9-10 ranking. And then niche.com actually ranked the Chandler public school system as the #1 public school system in the state of Arizona. Now, my goal on this channel is to be as transparent as possible, and I will be really honest, Arizona is not known for having great public schools. So if you aren't trying to send your child to a public school, there are several private school options. Chandler also has a great public charter school option, and these charter schools are tuition free. This Chandler, which is actually a charter school, was ranked the top school in Arizona by US News. So what's going on with crime in Chandler? So this map right here is from crimegrade.org, and green indicates safer neighborhood, and then red indicates higher crime areas. So you can see on that south part of Chandler, it is pretty dark green. Now on the north side, we do see a little bit more crime, but overall this area is considered to be pretty safe. Now, if you watch any of my other videos, you often know I talk about my crime meter, whether I feel comfortable running alone early in the morning or late at night. I will tell you, I lived in this area of Chandler and frequently would go on runs like 4:30 in the morning and never once felt unsafe. Now, these neighborhoods in this area, they do change quite a bit block to block. And I have heard a couple neighborhoods where people were having their Amazon packages stolen. And then my friend did leave her car unlocked overnight in front of her house, and some items were taken out of her car. So we do hear some petty crimes happening, but overall, when you look at Phoenix as a whole, the crime in Chandler, it's pretty mellow. Now let's talk about things to do in Chandler. Of course, I do need to talk about the Chandler Fashion Center. This mall is a perfect example that malls are not dead. People still like to go to a store and buy things in a store. This mall can get quite busy, but it has every store that you need. Macy's, Dillard's, Lululemon's, H&M. There's also several restaurants, a tap house, movie theater. So Chandler also has several parks nestled throughout the city. On the southeast side of Chandler, there's Veterans Oasis Park. And this is a smaller nature preserve with some walking trails. There's a small pond that you can fish in there as well. Now, if you have kids, you need to check out Playtopia at Tumbleweed Park. So this park is pretty unique. It's about 3 acres, and there's 3 separate parks that are all themed. They have one park that is city themed, then they have a farm themed park, and they even have a critter themed park. Then we do have a park called SB Park, and this is more of a sports-based park. There's several sports fields, and then if you're into biking or skateboarding, there is also a skate park there as well. So this is probably not news to you, but Arizona gets really hot, and Chandler has done a really good job in the past few years creating more indoor opportunities for people in the summer. Alta's Boulder Climbing, which is a great indoor gym if you're a climber. For kids, there's also several different indoor play places, trampoline park. There's also this place called KTR, Kids That Rip. And it's this 50,000 square foot building that's solely meant for indoor action sports. So this is for like BMX, skating. They even have this indoor ninja course. We're also seeing a lot more gyms come to Chandler. You can find any type of gym pretty much. There's yoga, CrossFit, Orange Theory Fitness, a lot of different HIIT gyms. And of course you have your big gyms like LA Fitness too. I've saved the best for last, and that is downtown Chandler. Now, downtown Chandler has become so much more vibrant over the past handful of years. There's great music music, really good restaurants, a good variety of restaurants as well. Tap houses, breweries, bars, wine tasting. We also have several festivals and farmers markets held in this area throughout the year. One of my favorite places is the Perch. On the first floor, it's a restaurant, and they have several types of birds on the perimeter of the restaurant. And then on the second floor, they actually have a bar up there with some different bar games. They have a lot of different music shows over the weekend as well. Now we're gonna talk about one of my favorite topics, real estate. And we're gonna look at it from both a buyer and renter perspective. Now, when we're talking about the local market in Chandler specifically, we have to recognize that Chandler is a very competitive market. It's actually one of the most competitive areas throughout Phoenix Metro. The demand is not quite as high in Chandler as it is in some other areas in Phoenix, but it's just that the supply is so low here. And that can be a really challenging component for a lot of home buyers, particularly first-time home buyers. Another thing to note is Chandler is definitely not the cheapest suburb in Phoenix. The median salary here is actually one of the highest in all of Arizona. So when you look at affordability, it really depends what lens you're looking through. If you have a pretty high salary and you're moving from a very expensive area, it's relatively inexpensive. I will say the south part of Chandler is going to be a little bit more expensive. A lot of these homes are newer and are going to be $600-700+ homes. It's not that you can't find a home cheaper than that, they're just not that many out there. And as far as rentals, you'll find a few luxury condos or luxury apartments, but more often than not, the rentals are single family homes. And because the homes are nicer, you're probably starting about $2,500 a month for a more basic home, and then you see rentals go up over $5,000 a month. See, on that north side of Chandler, it's a very different story here. There's a lot more of a variety of homes in this area. You will see some mansions, some $1 million homes, but you'll also find more starter homes and slightly more affordable housing here. You might be able to find more of a simple starter home in the higher 400s, but if you're looking for under 400, let's say that 250 to 400 range, you're most likely going to be looking at townhomes and condos. Now, if you're renting, have more options for apartments. If you're looking for a simple apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, you might be able to find something for $1,500-1,600. If you're looking for more of a single family home, probably looking at the low to mid 2000s for a basic single family home. So just as a side note, if you are planning on commuting to Phoenix, it is going to be very helpful to be closer to one of the highways, either the 101 or the 202. And of course, the further north you are, it's also going to make it that much easier. If you're really far on that southeast side of Chandler, it can be quite a hike, particularly if you're, 3-4 blocks south of the 202. Let's talk about growth in Chandler. One of the main drivers for growth in Chandler is that it's emerging as this vibrant tech hub in the Phoenix area. It's attracted a lot of high-tech companies, Intel, microchip technology. They have created Chandler's reputation as this tech area. So Chandler also has a lot of business-friendly policies. We do see more and more co-working spaces, networking events, entrepreneurial groups. We are seeing young business professionals and families moving to Chandler, but it's just not growing at the pace as some of these other cities like Queen Creek is growing. So why is that? Chandler is an older city compared to some of these other suburbs in Phoenix, but it's actually consistently grown at a pretty steady clip over the past 30 years. It's grown a little less than 1% every year. And when you look at cities across the United States, this is really high. But when you compare it to Queen Creek is the third fastest growing city in the entire United States. Queen Creek is further outside of the city, so there's a lot more space there. They have received a lot higher amount of permits for single family homes. And on top of that, you could get a lot more bang for your buck for homes in this area. I will say that it's starting to shift, particularly in the past couple of years, but this is one of the main drivers that brought people further outside of the city towards an area like Queen Creek. Of course, with COVID, we saw a lot more people working from home, and as a result of that, they were willing to move further outside of the city. Some of people were actually even seeking to be further outside of the city just to have a quieter life. Now, I do love Chandler. It is still a great family area, and I will say what Chandler has that these other suburbs don't, like Queen Creek and Santan, is the location. It is much more central, and as a result of that, you have a lot more at your doorstep, particularly if you're further northwest in Chandler. Now, if you want to know more about Chandler, particularly some of the cons of living there, check out this video right here. I do break down some of the negatives of living there, but you guys, it's no secret, I love this area. So if you have any other questions, reach out. I'm here to help. Have a fantastic day.